There's a woman. Well, call her Natasha. It's Sunday morning. She's standing in front of the mirror. No work today, no plans. But she's been in the bathroom for 40 minutes and still can't walk out. She's already done her makeup. She's already changed once. And now she's about to change again. She takes off one blouse, picks up another, looks at herself, puts it back, grabs the first one, pulls a dress out of the closet, tries it on, takes it off. And at some point she catches herself thinking, who is this actually for? Her husband's the only one home. She's not going out in any of this today. Nobody whose opinion matters to her is going to see her. And she still can't stop. Because somewhere inside, there's an invisible audience. One whose judgment decides how she's going to feel today. This audience doesn't actually exist in her life, but it controls what she puts on a Sunday morning at home. And that is one of the most common ways people spend their lives, performing for an audience that isn't there. That's what I want to talk about today. Let me start with one important note. Wanting other people's approval, that's not a disorder. It's a completely normal human need. We're social creatures. We care what our family thinks, our colleagues, our kids, our parents. That's not weakness. That's just how we're wired. The problem doesn't start when you care what others think. The problem starts when what others think becomes the main engine. When your whole life, your decisions, your choices, your emotional state, even the clothes you wear at home on a Sunday, gets organized around an invisible authority that needs to say, you did good. That's something different, and it quietly eats your life. Let me show you two scenarios that look almost identical on the surface. First man, 42 years old, financial analyst, nice car, good title, suit, did everything in life that was considered the right move. Second man, also 42, also an analyst, also a nice car, also did everything right. From the outside, nearly identical. Same resume, almost the same. But inside, two completely different people. The first man built his career because he genuinely loves the work. Numbers have fascinated him since he was a kid. When he solves a hard problem, he feels alive. The car is just a car. The suit is just a suit. They don't carry meaning. They're just tools for a life where something else is what matters. The second man built his career because it got approval. His father called it a real profession. His mother showed him off to her friends. His teachers held him up as an example. And he learned, this is what I get valued for. The car isn't just a car. It's a signal to the world, look, I made it. The suit isn't just a suit. It's the costume for the role of successful man. The work itself stopped interesting him a long time ago. He holds on to it because without it, he doesn't know who he'd be. From the outside, they look the same, but the lives they're actually living, completely different. One lives from the inside, the other lives for the audience. And here's what's important to understand. The second man isn't stupid. He's not weak. He's not a bad person. He just never asked himself one question. Who are these people I'm performing for? And how did their opinion end up mattering more than mine? Let me walk you through how this happens. Nobody is born performing for approval. It's not built in. It's learned. A small child doesn't think about how they look. They think about what interests them. They roll around on the floor because it's fun. They draw on the walls because they want to. They scream at the top of their lungs in the grocery store because they're feeling something. They live from the inside. And then the signals start coming. Don't embarrass me. What will people think? Act normal. Girls don't do that. Boys don't cry. What will Mrs. Henderson say? Don't stand out. Each of those phrases by itself, not a big deal. But they repeat thousands of times. And gradually the child learns, My worth depends on how I'm seen. By the time most people are in their 20s, this mechanism is already hardwired in, and they don't even notice that a large portion of their decisions aren't actually being made by them. They're being made by that invisible audience sitting in their head, evaluating everything. I don't want to wear this, but what will my coworkers think? I want to say this, but how will I come across? I want to walk away, but what will people say? I don't even like this career, but my parents are so proud. A life that's 80% made up of conversations like that, that's not your life. That's a life being lived for you by an imaginary audience. If this is landing, go ahead and hit like. The most important part is still ahead. Here's where most people hear: just stop caring what others think. That's empty advice. It's like telling someone to just stop worrying. If they could, they already would. I want to come at this from a different angle. The question isn't how to stop caring. The question is how to tell the difference. The difference between approval that's healthy and approval that's doing damage. Healthy approval is when someone close to you, someone whose opinion genuinely matters, sees what you're doing and says, "That's good. I see you." It gives you energy. That's normal. It's even necessary. We're all built that way. Destructive approval is when you do something in order to get that good job, when it becomes the fuel you can't run without. When without it, you lose the sense of why you're doing anything at all. The difference is subtle, but it's enormous. The first kind, approval comes after your action, as a reward. The second kind, approval is steering the action from the very start. In the first case, you stay yourself. In the second, you gradually turn into someone performing other people's expectations. Here are 3 questions that help you figure out where you are. First, if no one ever found out I did this, would I still do it? If the answer is no, that's not your thing. That's a performance. Second, what would I stop doing tomorrow if people stopped evaluating me? The longer that list, the more of your life you've been living for someone else. Third, when's the last time I chose what I actually wanted against what the people around me approved of? If those moments are rare, you're not in control. Something else is. Now, what to actually do, concretely. First, find your invisible audience and name them. Everyone who lives for approval has a specific cast of characters in their head. It's not some vague people out there. It's names. The father who never really approved. The mother who always compared you to someone else. The ex you're still somehow proving yourself to. The old boss. The girl from high school you still want to be ahead of. Get a piece of paper. Write down the names of the people whose approval you're unconsciously chasing right now. For most people, 3 to 5 names. Then look at that list. A lot of these people don't even think about you. Some are gone. Some are living their own lives, and you're not in them. And you're still up on stage for them. Naming your audience out loud, that's the first step toward taking their power away. When they're invisible, they run things. Named, they become just people, with their own limitations, their own wounds, their own blind spots. Second, do small things without an audience. Every day, do one thing that no one will ever see or evaluate. Not for social media, not to mention over dinner, not even so you can feel good about yourself, just for you. Read a chapter of a book you won't tell anyone about. Go somewhere you won't bring up in conversation. Do something kind for someone without telling them, or anyone else, that you did it. This exercise gives you back your internal compass. It teaches you that an action has meaning on its own, not only as raw material for someone else's judgment. Third, separate healthy approval from destructive. Find one person in your life whose opinion genuinely matters to you, and ask yourself, do I want their approval because they really see me, or because I want to earn their good job? If it's the first, that's healthy. Hold on to those relationships. They're exactly the kind that are worth something. If it's the second, that's a transaction. You're not building a relationship. You're buying approval with effort, and you'll never finish buying it. Fourth, do one thing that gets less approval than you'd like. This is the hardest one, and the most important. Most people who live for approval never take a step that makes someone think worse of them. They never go against expectations. They don't disappoint. They don't say no. So they're never free. They're always inside the role where they get approved of. Freedom starts with one action. Not dramatic, not loud, just real. Say no where you normally say yes. Don't apologize when you'd normally go first. Don't explain yourself when you'd normally explain everything. The first time, it'll feel terrifying. There'll be a voice inside. What are they going to think? Do it anyway, because only the person who can afford to lose approval actually has themselves. There's one more thing, and without it, this conversation wouldn't be complete. Living for approval, it's not just wanting people to like you. Deeper than that, there's a search for a judge who will finally say, "You're okay. You're good enough. You're worth loving. You have the right to be here." And people start looking for that final verdict in other people, in parents, in a partner, in their kids, in their boss, in their friends, in their followers, in the ones who once didn't notice, didn't praise, didn't choose them, didn't show up. But here's the problem. No human being can deliver the final verdict on your worth. Not because people are cruel, but because that role is too much for them. They get tired. They make mistakes. They get jealous. They compare. They're afraid. They change their minds. Today they approve. Tomorrow they go quiet. The day after, they criticize. And if my sense of my own worth depends on their reaction, I'll spend my life like someone waiting for a signal. Can I relax now or not? Am I okay or not? Did they accept me or do I need to try harder? That's how a person ends up in very quiet slavery. Nobody's holding them. Nobody's locking the door. Nobody's telling them to change their clothes a third time on a Sunday morning. But there's a voice inside. What will they think? And they obey it. I don't think the way out starts with contempt for people, or with telling yourself you don't care what anyone thinks. Because a healthy person does care. We need to be loved. We need to be heard. We need to be seen. We need warmth from the people close to us. But that final, "you're okay," it can't be pulled out of people. That weight is too heavy for human shoulders. And this is where a deeper foundation comes in. A person stops asking everyone they meet, "Tell me who I am," and starts returning to the one who saw them before anyone else did, to the Creator, to the Source, in whose eyes a person's worth doesn't begin with success, looks, status, perfect behavior, or someone else's admiration. You don't have to become visible to have value. You don't have to keep proving you deserve to be here. You don't have to win an invisible trial every single day. You don't become a person only after you've been approved. You already are one, with a soul, with dignity, with responsibility, with gifts, with mistakes, with a path that can still be walked differently. And when that becomes, even a little, something you actually believe on the inside, the people around you suddenly get easier to be with. Their opinion doesn't disappear. It's still there, sometimes useful, sometimes painful, sometimes fair, sometimes not. But it stops being the final verdict. You can hear feedback and not fall apart. You can take criticism and not lose yourself. You cannot be someone's favorite and not decide that something must be wrong with you. That's the beginning of freedom. Not freedom from people, freedom from worshiping what they think. Let's come back to Natasha, the one who can't get out of the bathroom. What was actually happening that morning? She's not getting dressed. She's pulling approval from an audience that doesn't exist, and she's not getting it because the audience isn't there. That's how years go by. minute by minute, decision by decision, handed over to a court that will never deliver a verdict. If you asked her in that moment, "Natasha, what would you wear today if you genuinely didn't care what anyone thought?" She probably couldn't answer right away, because she hasn't asked herself that question in years. And that, honestly, is the clearest sign of someone living for approval. They don't know what they want without an audience. The good news is that knowing comes back. Not in a day, not in a month, but it comes back. Every time a person makes a choice from the inside, not for the audience, they become a little more themselves. If this conversation reached something in you, please take a second and hit like. It helps the channel grow, and it helps quiet, honest conversations like this one reach the people who need them. And leave one thing in the comments. One thing you're still doing more for someone else's approval than for yourself. Just one. Not to make a confession, not for a good-looking answer, just to say it out loud. Because sometimes freedom doesn't start with a big decision. It starts with an honest sentence. Yeah, right here, I'm still performing for an audience that isn't there. Subscribe if this kind of conversation is what you're looking for. No noise, no cheap motivation, just an honest look at who we are, what we carry, and what's still possible. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, send them this video. Not with "you really need to watch this," just something simple. "I thought of you while I was listening to this." Sometimes that's exactly how the right words find someone at the right time. Thank you for being here. Take care of your heart. And remember, the audience may not exist, but the life you're spending